Welcome to episode 103 of Star Wars and Scotch. As always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Tim, aka Darkness429. I have this lovely Lab 77 hoodie that signifies I am
you're a member
of the community under leadership of Tim. Well, actually, according to your community, I'm actually the one in charge behind the scenes, and I'm using you as a puppet regime.
Oh my God, Kevin.
You haven't seen these conversations in your chat?
I don't look at half of them.
Yeah, no, they firmly believe that I'm actually the puppet master behind the scenes, and like you are just
what?
Like the propped up regime.
This is ridiculous. I'm just a poster boy?
Apparently, according to them.
That's all right.
But yeah, so if you didn't get yours, be jealous because these are limited drops. But there's more limited drops coming from Lab 77, so make sure you are paying attention. Tim's chat, Lab 77, all those places. And as always, KingsCoastCoffee.com. Stuff's dropping next week. We have that's a cute little Halloween mug
this?
You have there.
Yeah,
it's very cute.
I have seasonal mugs. So I've
noticed.
I love this time of year. Okay, so during October we got our spoopy ones, and then November kind of just generic fall, and then Christmas. Oh man, I love Christmas mugs. Kevin, I have so many Christmas mugs. I have an entire shelf in my coffee corner of just Christmas mugs. It's bad.
I have probably 7 or 8 Christmas mugs too, so I feel you. I do that with socks too. I have these 3 Christmas socks that are, because you know I like crazy socks.
Love socks. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have 3 Christmas socks. I held one in my hand this morning.
Oh my gosh, that just reminds me of a gift that I tried to get you last year and they were all sold out. I wonder if they have them this time.
Uh-oh. Are you going to get socks with your face on them like my daughter does for me?
Nope. I wasn't, but I'm going to now.
Yeah, she gets me socks with her face on them, and then last year she got me socks with Juliet's face all over them.
Well, this year you're going to get socks with my face on them. I have to figure out how to make this happen.
Ask her. She's got all the deets.
DMing Audrey.
Anyway, so yeah, and I'm drinking King's Coast out of my news story. This is one of my favorite mugs.
Oh, I like that.
News Story is one of our clients on the Rare Drop side. They're a nonprofit trying to actively end homelessness.
Yeah, they're really cool. That was a face thing. Holy shit.
Tim really wanted to talk about it.
God, it's really just like, let me tell you about News Story. Jesus Christ. I hit my pedal and that zoomed in. Sorry, man. I'm just all over the place this morning. Holy shit. For the audio listeners, that was his face zoom. News Story is cool because they 3D print houses, which is really neat. They do them like in a day, and they use all like local materials. So they just like use the dirt and sand that's right there. They bring this 3D printer in, and it just poops out concrete. And then it also does the windows, the doors, does the electrical, the plumbing, and it's all robotic. Like that's the craziest thing is it just they plop it down, build a house. It's nuts.
They're the client, if you can believe it or not. They're the client that we're talking about 2024 things with.
That's so cool.
Isn't that wild?
I don't get to hear any of this stuff, so
yeah,
so
no,
busy.
I can't talk about the details on the recording. I can tell you after, but yeah, they're a client. They're like, yeah, we want to do this with you in 2024. I'm like, that's a year, like that's happening anyway. So yeah, we're drinking King's Coast out of my mug this morning. So much holiday stuff coming down the pipeline. And you know, stuff's coming in house. Wayne keeps sending me invoices, so I know what's coming through. But all that holiday stuff is ready for your consumption, and we're excited.
I can hear chat now. Where the is Coco?
There's stuff coming before Coco. There's 2 items that are going to hit before Coco drops, and then we have obviously our specialty Christmas stuff. Perfect gifts for your coffee drinking members of your family, or your non-coffee drinking if you like Coco. So. I mean, Shane, our executive assistant, Shane, does not drink coffee, but man, he loves the cocoa. So, KingsCoastCoffee.com, join the Kings Club, and
coffee.
Yeah, just drink coffee.
All right,
it's Shane. He's fine.
That's okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm just judging him.
Shane.
It's all right.
I'm gonna tell him you're judging him because he doesn't drink. He'll actually no, I won't because he'll get very emotional if I tell him you're judging him.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Not gonna do that.
I'm just gonna start leaving like random coffee bags on his desk.
Who is this mysterious coffee person leaving coffee
Kevin,
on
who just
my
keeps
desk?
leaving coffee on my desk?
He's from Arkansas. We could do that. I said Alabama
Man,
once.
we should have Shane on the podcast.
He would come on. He would come on.
I think it'd be fun to have like a week, we just have like, like we could bring like, like 1 week we could have Paul, and then 1 week we could have Shane, and 1 week we could have Mike, and just like,
I think we need to bring Mindy on Star Wars and Scotch once because
Mindy is a Star Wars nerd.
She's a huge Star Wars fan. She unfortunately had to cancel her wedding because of COVID, but she was supposed to walk down the aisle to Rey's theme was going to be her song.
That would have been so lovely.
Yeah. So Mindy's a huge Star Wars fan. So yeah, maybe we'll do that to end the year out. We'll bring some of the Rare Drop crew in. We should have Ben back. It's been a while since we've had Ben. The last time we had Ben on was when we talked about Dune.
Oh yeah, because that was so outside my realm of knowledge.
Yeah, that was a fun episode. Yeah, we got into the Joseph Campbell Star Wars stuff with Dune. And,
Getting high and talking about Star Wars with Ben is awesome.
Yeah. No, we can definitely do that. So yeah, maybe that's how we'll round out the year. Well, we do have Tales of the Jedi coming up next week.
Yeah, Kevin, you thought that was coming out next year.
For some reason, I got the dates confused with Bad Batch.
I hit him with a hot review from Twitter, and Twitter is very happy about this.
Yeah, we saw Alex's post yesterday saying he watched all of it and he loved it, especially the Dooku. Everyone seems very stuck on the Dooku background. Well, because
it's young Dooku. He's still a Jedi. Qui-Gon is his apprentice still. Like the timing is just like it should, in theory, answer some questions where we're just like, how did this all happen? So,
well, Sypha Dyas is in it too, so should be.
And that'll show the connection between Sypha Dyas and Tyrannus, which should be great. So I'm really excited for that.
So we're gonna go episode by episode with that. We're not gonna review it all at once. So if you're coming next week and you're like, I want to hear all about it, we're going to go one episode at a time with that because we're covering Andor. We don't mind covering both at the same time, but I feel like almost prematurely we'll be blowing our load if we decide to cover
I think
all
it's good to have it as ancillary content just because it's so short. It's only 13 minutes a piece. There's 6 episodes. So like, let's kind of milk that a little bit, chat, more so than just kind of just like eating it all up at once. Because at some point, Andor is going to be over.
What? No.
Yeah. Andor is going to be over. We're kind of like going to run out of things to do. So
I'm excited for the Togruta episodes, to be honest.
Yeah, that'll be really, really neat because she's not a typical Togruta. It's not going to be like the Togruta that we heard about in like the High Republic.
The Huntress.
The Huntress and stuff. Like that was really neat. And we've seen a little bit of like the Togruta people, but apparently Ahsoka's clan is very, very different and unique. So that'll be a very interesting story within itself. Because like we'll learn more about how like Togruta, like how the hierarchy and like how they're all just like how that the actual race, how it just functions, which is neat. I think that's really cool. Is like as we start to like get deeper into Star Wars, like we're learning more about the actual cultures, and we're like they're really starting to like flush all that stuff out because there are some like races where like everything about them. There's just like literally everything that is to know about them is out there, and there's some that you don't know anything. So like it'll be really cool to get a deeper look into this sect of the Togruta people.
Speaking of races, we just learned from the new High Republic book. I know you haven't read it yet, and this is not really spoiler information, but Marchion Ro's race is called the Evereni.
Right. The Evereni. Okay.
Yep.
And so do we know anything about the Evereni?
No, there's a character named Marta Ro that's part of the cult.
I would assume she's a part of the
Path of the Open Hand.
Marchion Ro family.
I would assume it's 170 years, so great grandmother, grandmother, something like that.
So
depending on age.
So in theory, she should be able to control the Decimator, right?
The Leveler.
There we go. I knew it was something close.
Perhaps.
To that.
They're like a hippie cult, but there's something off. Like it's one of those situations. I don't know what it is yet. But
just because they're smoking some pot and talking about the Force doesn't mean they can kill an entire galaxy.
Well, they've already murdered 2 people, and I'm only 9 chapters in. So
perfect. She's gonna go crazy.
So, but Marta is not the mother. We got that mixed up from the cover. She is not the mother. That's another character. Marta is just
of
part
the same race.
No, the mother is a human.
Wait, I thought they showed that. Was that a teaser? Was that just a complete redirect?
Because they showed
that art, and it said the mother underneath.
The character they showed is Marta. According to, maybe I'm reading the book wrong, but according to what I heard, it's a dark-skinned woman. But I could be misinterpreting it.
But the mother in the artwork that we saw, she had like gray skin. She looked kind of like a night elf.
No, I believe that was Marta.
I could have sworn we said it was the mother.
No, look here. I am right. Alicia. I'm
Oh, no,
dropping.
I mean, I'm with you. I'm trying to figure out where did we mess up, because I could have sworn we thought that was the mother.
Yeah, there you go. That's the concept art for the mother. I dropped it in ping for you, and then Marta Rowe.
Oh no, that's not who we're looking at. Marta is So Marta is that dark elf. But why did we think that was the mother? They must have mislabeled it in that Star Wars blog.
Yeah, that's what I'm gathering. There is two different mothers.
Marta be also the mother?
No, because the cover. Okay, the cover. Now I know who the cover is on the book. It's the Jedi. I forget his name. And then the mother is the one in the middle, and Marta is the one on the right. So my guess would be is that Marta's gonna become the mother at some point.
You just haven't gotten there yet.
My guess is that the Path of the Open Hand somehow, some way, fuses with something with the what the hell is Space Pirates called? The Marquion's
Give me a
group.
second. The storm. No, the storm. The tempest.
Yeah, them.
Dude, the storm runners. The runners. The
Nope.
dude, I'm thinking of all these names. I'm like the Eye, the Storm, the Tempest,
The Nihil.
the Nihil. Oh my God! All I could think about was storms.
Yeah. So then somehow they're gonna get affiliated with the Nihil because Marta, they're either repairing or building or doing something with the Gaze Electric. They have the Gaze Electric right.
Oh, they
now.
have the Gaze Electric. Oh
Yeah.
wow! So
none of this is spoiler, by the way, because they're just like really just setting the tone for what's happening in the story.
So when do they get the paths then? Because the paths come from the
They're getting the paths now.
Oh, so this is all just setting up backstory. So we're gonna end up going forwards again, right?
So no one knows how the mother gets the paths. That's kind of where we're at right now.
We know that we're getting them from a Santeca.
So there's a Santeca just popped up in the book, but no one knows how the mother gets the paths right now. So I believe Lorna, whatever her name was, Santeca, the one that Markian had on the ship.
The one where she puts her in the pod and harvests.
Yeah, I believe
brain.
she's there already.
Yeah.
And that's where the mother's getting the paths from. But we just
so good.
Now, if I tell you more about the Santeca, we'll get into spoilers. But I will just say a Santeca just popped up in the book.
The Santeca family is so interesting because, like, Lore Santeca right now in the Shadows of the Sith is like a very interesting character, and it makes me so mad. I know we're so off track from Andor, but
Fine.
It really pisses me off that Lore Santeca in Shadows of the Sith is like this awesome like force. Like, he's not a zealot; he's more of like a crusader. He's like a force crusader. Very religious man, but like he's also like he's a scholar.
Philanthropist.
You know, he is a philanthropist. He's also like a warrior to a certain degree. It seems like he has like fought in the past. So like he's a really interesting person. And then he just shows up at the beginning of episode 7 and they kill him the first 5 minutes. But he's such a cool character. And like there's so much backstory when he's talking about Leia and how like, you know, she'll always be a princess in my eyes.
She'll
or whatever
always
he
be a
says.
princess to me.
Yeah. And so it's just like, but why? Like, why is she a princess to you? Oh, I know why. Because he was hanging out with his goddamn brother. He was with Luke the whole time. So that's why Ben wanted to go find Lore, because Lore's been hanging out with Luke and they were going off and finding freaking Force artifacts. Oh my God, if they would have just spent a little bit of time explaining that in the movie, it would have made his character so much more important. But all you know is this guy, this old man who has a map. All you fucking know. And fucking Ben Solo slices him up. Kylo's just like, what the hell, Kevin?
Movies were rushed. They were rushed, and you had two competing ideas over 3 movies. That was the other problem. I think
the problem was though is they didn't know what to do with him, and I think they backfilled his story after the fact. I think they just gave him a name.
I get upset when they take a step back and then they build out a character better in the comics and the books than they did in a movie or a television show. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, if you just did this up front or made a better decision. For instance, the Sith Temple on Exegol. My God, if you showed the statues more prominently and you showed that these were the Sith that we know from the Old Republic, you'd have the fanboys jerking off all over the screen. Like, I just don't understand some of the decisions on why they want to like gatekeep and protect. I'm using the word protect very loosely here. Protect certain things because you can kind of blow the doors open or just leave hints in a breadcrumb trail, and you'll make everyone way happier than they are now.
Yeah, I agree. It's like there was so much detail with Exegol, and it was just like, man, this thing is more than just like this. Because all they show is the laboratory stuff. You know, it's just like Palpatine's laboratory, he's cloning shit. But there's so much more to this place. It's so cool.
Lightning's flashing. We see these humongous statues, these frescoes on the wall, like.
The main hall when you walk in apparently is just like black marble. Like how cool that would have been. That's like when we went in Loki. When Loki shows up at the war, like what would the
TVA.
Whenever he shows up at the center of the timeline, whatever that building was called, I forgot.
TVA, Time Variance Authority.
No. At the end, when we end up meeting Kang.
Oh, when we meet Kang,
when we go to Kang's house, I can't remember what that middle point's called. But when like you walk in there, that's the vibe that I got from reading from listening to the book when they were explaining. I was like, oh, like this is what this looks like. You know, the black statues, the marble floors, the gold kind of laid in.
It almost looked like the inverse of the Senate building on Coruscant.
Yeah. Or even just like the Sith, or even like just like the Jedi Temple. Same idea. Like these statues that are up everywhere. It's like it's the inverse of that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just wish they made some better choices.
That was my big frustration with as I get deeper into this book is just like, man, like these characters are so cool.
I was thinking the other day because we always talk about when are they going to do more Old Republic, when are they going to do more stuff, and we thinking this video game that hopefully comes out at some point in the future would be the door opening, but it's like you're gonna lose so many fans of that era if you wait too long because people are gonna they're gonna not care about Star Wars anymore because you've made them wait. So at some point they really got to rev the engine. Like it's great that the content they're coming out with now, but I hate to say it, like you got to make more and you got to start appealing to a broader fan base because you're losing your base. Now people haven't been as angry as they were when the sequel trilogy came out, and you're always gonna have haters on some level,
of course.
But I really feel like they could gain so much from building out Old Republic stuff alongside of these other two timelines. But I digress. But yeah, the book's interesting so far. It's again late. I'm like 9 chapters in. Some stuff has happened, but they're laying groundwork for something, and I'm not sure what it is. And like I said, it's definitely a hippie situation, but there's something very dark behind the veil, and I can't figure out what it is yet. So we shall see. It's a very short one too, Tim. It's like under 9 hours.
Okay.
And I only have like 6 hours left, 6 hours left. Andor.
Yeah, this was a good episode. Like really good episode.
First of all, Wolfie Lauren, haha, awesome. Yes,
dude, I thought
thank
that was
you.
So
great
awesome.
to see you.
It was so cool to watch him walk in. It was just like
I was like, that's Wolf, and he looks perfect. Like he looked so good.
Perfect.
It was just
he
the
sounded
voice,
perfect.
Yeah, like the voice. Yeah, I was waiting for in space, like that opening for Clone Wars, like and the Republic. You know, that's what I was waiting for.
No, this is ISB Wolf. It's a different character altogether to an extent. So he seeing him was great. And the fact that he was there showed you the severity of the situation.
When he said, I personally spoke to the Emperor, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, which means Palpatine's in on it now, clued in on what's going on. And the restrictions that they announced in that episode felt more like the Empire we know as we go along. Someone tweeted at us and said, like, you guys are frustrating with your timeline stuff. And they like laid it all out. But we know we're a few years away from A New Hope. But the fact that
you know how hard it is to keep all this stuff in your head? It's not easy keeping the timeline right.
Oh, the timeline? Yeah.
We're off by like a year or two.
The fact that Wolf started announcing like all of the lockdown protocols, like we're going to tax them 5 times.
5 times if you were found like harboring any perpetrators, I think is the word.
No, that was the raising the prison sentences. The taxes was on everybody in the galaxy.
Oh, I must have misheard while I was on the
Then they talked about the prison sentences being reevaluated, which is why at the end of the episode,
oh
Cassian
my God, when he went to Florida.
That was not Florida. That was like one of the.
That was space Florida, dude.
That was a shitty beach resort, and of course I had to look it up.
Saying.
You know where that was? Where they filmed that? England.
Oh, okay.
That's why it looked like garbage. No offense, folks from the UK.
Hey, what do you mean? We got great beaches.
No, you have shit beaches. Sorry. I live 20 minutes from one of the top 10 beaches in the world, so I'm sorry. I just have to judge your beach. But yeah, I was like, this is the best he could do with 200,000 credits. Okay.
Yeah, he ended up at Space Florida. Where else was he? Did you see all the old retired like bugs and stuff that were sitting on the benches? I just thought Miami Beach. That's all I could think of.
Yeah. So ISB is really was my favorite part of the episode because you got to really. First of all, Wolf showing up showed you the severity. And then the two officers arguing in that one part with Major Partagas, I think his name is, kind of playing referee. And then I knew he was going to be proud that she took the extra initiative to go around and be like, you know, I'm going to break protocol or bend the rules as far as I can to get the information that I need. And now that I have the information that I need, you know, and the best thing she said in that conversation was like, do you think the rebels care about the lines we drew on a map? And I was
that
like,
was so good, dude. Yeah.
And then the guy the little stool pigeon was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, because he essentially gets demoted in front of the entire class.
Yeah. So I loved it. I thought it was the politics of the ISB and that were like front and center for me.
The biggest takeaway from all of this was just really starting to set up the whole theme for Rogue One. Wow, I almost said A New Hope. Because I mean, technically, it's kind of like the end of A New Hope, like when Leia says,
it all runs in.
You know, it kind of like all runs together. But I mean, like the overarching theme was like the spark. Like all we need is a spark. And like, and when he's talking to mom, he calls her mom, right? The old lady in the house. Who? What's her name?
Mon Mothma.
No. And Cassian's talking to the old lady in the house.
Cassian's mom is I forget her name. I'll look it up. Keep going.
He calls her mom, right? Anyways, when she was talking about how she's like, I put my best coat on and I walked through the square where they hung my husband and I didn't have like any PTSD or anything like that. It's like that was the spark. Like the idea of like anyone was able to stand up to the Empire and actually make a difference. So like that was really, really interesting.
Yeah. And if you heard the ISB too, now they're like any local festivals being used as a masquerade for rebel activity, you know, will now be canceled and all this. I was like, man, they are just laying it in there.
And now we find ourselves in this like essentially a purge, if you will. Is that they're just going through and they're just arresting just normal basic ass people and throwing them in jail because what they're doing, what I think they're doing is that this is them ramping up their production site, their production timelines, and they need more workers because they're killing the Geonosians right now. The Geonosians are dying, literally dying, trying to build the Death Star, right? They're going through and they're harvesting all of this material. This is when we start getting into Catalyst. And we starting to see the severity of the Empire being in control, and it's really bad. And so now we're just what was a 6-month sentence is now 6 years, and he was getting arrested for things that he didn't even do. It was just an assumption. This guy made an assumption. He was like, "Oh, you did all this," and he didn't even have due process. He didn't even have the ability to defend himself. They were just like, you did this, sucks to suck, boop, gone.
Best line in the trial was take it up with the Emperor.
Yeah, holy shit, dude.
Her name's Marva, by the way.
Absolutely, Marva. Okay, so he calls her Marv. That's sometimes I hear mom with his accent. Yeah, when he's talking to Marv, it's just like you could tell she was different when she was just like, I've been here for 13 years and I'm tired and I just don't care anymore. And it's like, this is showcasing the spark of the rebellion. And it's so cool. Mon Mothma is another great example of like showcasing the beginnings. And it's like going back to what we keep on talking about, episode 3 and that deleted scene where they're having that meeting and you're starting to all see the fruits of their labor starting to come to fruition, right? Like this idea of like she's now starting to be less careful and she's like starting to like rally the people. She's talking to her friend. And she's like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I need you to help me.
So
it's cool.
It was interesting with her because, you know, she's viewed to us as this big rebel leader.
Yeah.
And then now that the rebellion, I guess you could say it has officially started. Although in Solo, I feel like that's really I guess that's more of a seed than it officially starting. I would say that would you say that this event kicks off the rebellion?
Yes, 100%. I would say this is the moment when people see that they are able to stand up to the Empire.
So with that being said, you know, she wasn't really ready to the level that Luthen was, but Luthen seems to be of the mind that, you know, we can, like, this is it. It's do or die at this point. Like, we can't just sit on our hands anymore.
As long as he's getting paid.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't think he's a true rebel?
I don't think so. I think he understands that there's things to be done, and I think he's tired of losing out on whatever on income or whatever. Remember, everyone has their own rebellion. And so I think Luthen got burned at some point. We also know that they want to kill Cassian now. Because we had the meeting, you know, like they're putting essentially a hit on Cassian. So like to me, I think Luthen is more of like he's a mercenary. I think he is like he's like a top level mercenary, and like he's doing his own thing, and he knows that Mon Mothma is a way for him to get what he wants. I don't think he's as bought in. I don't think he is a patriot. I think he's an opportunist.
Interesting. Also, when they the flashback with Cassian's dad, air quotes.
Oh yeah.
When they were like, "Long live the Republic," those were clone troopers, right?
Yes, those were
saw their helmets.
Those were last generation stormtroopers for sure, or clone troopers. Excuse me.
Yeah, like the first stormtroopers before they like phased out the clones, essentially.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting too. And I guess Marva's just had the rebellion at this point. It's just inside of her, like you said. She said, like, I walked through the square happy at that point. I don't know what role she's gonna play in the rebellion, and Bix doesn't seem interested in it at all. She just, you know, lost her boyfriend, and it's probably, I don't know. It seems like whatever happens on that planet, I feel like we're not done with that planet, and we're gonna go back because Cassian obviously has his ties there.
You think we're gonna go back there? Well, I guess we have to pick up what's her face.
Marva's still there, Bix is still there, and then, you know, the droid B2. Oh, the K2 droid, by the way. Well, KX droid.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God, he was like he meant watch me, not actually hang. Like that was so good. It was. I thought that was fun.
I wasn't sure if that was K2-SO.
I don't think so. I think it's just.
It's not, because the other one came up behind him too. There was 2 K2 droids in that scene, but it was just fun to see the K2 droid, or KX, they're called KX, droid in that scene, and then see like how vicious they are apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they're the muscle. They're the bodyguard. Like they're like the goons.
So what other takeaways do you have from this episode? Because we also have Karn getting a job at the, what was that?
That
the
was
Bureau?
Okay. So it was the Bureau of
boring as
compliance.
Shit, Compliance Bureau, and he was in the fuel department.
There was like this position open up in fueling or something like that, fuel quality or something like that.
Whoever is his uncle obviously has lots of influence, because they were like, well, we're just going to change some things in your record to get you this job.
Oh, yeah, because he's just like, I want to expunge my record. I want to clean and clear my name. And the guy's like, we can make that happen for you. And just like, what is going on?
Is the uncle someone we know, or is it just someone?
She says his name, Uncle something, and I missed it because I have to go back. I was doing my cardio while I was watching, because I saw it was a 50-minute episode. I'm like, I have to do some cardio and watch this. So she says Uncle something, and I missed it. Do you remember?
It wasn't a name I recognized. That's
okay. Understood. So then
but that doesn't mean it's an alias.
It could be a fake name, like for all we know. So I honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I hope it's Lando.
Oh my God. Hey, how are we related?
Nephew.
It's just like,
by marriage, of course.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. I hope it's someone that we've never heard of before. Hopefully it's someone new.
A new evil character.
Yeah, I would like that a lot. Or just I don't know. I feel like it's going to be really important. They've done so much building up to this where it would blow my mind if this guy wasn't a pivotal role when it comes to just holy shit. He was a goddamn Wookiee the whole time. No, it's gonna be someone important. It's gonna be someone really important, and it's gonna blow us away when they finally announce who it is. Because this, like, there's no. It would be so stupid for them to build up this entire like sub story arc and not deliver with a big like, oh wow, like somehow Cassian and this guy and then his uncle, like this is all gonna get mashed up at the end. It has to. This is gonna take us to the finale, I think.
So you think the end of the season will reveal who the uncle is?
We're going to get closure with the guy who was on Morales, Meridia, whatever the planet was. There's so many goddamn planets now. Morlana 2, right?
1.
1?
2?
Whatever.
3.
The Morlana, okay, so the Corpo guard. So many names.
Karn.
Corpo
Morlana
guard.
1. We're
gonna get closure with him. We're gonna end up. I think either we end up going back to Morlana, or somehow it'll all come back to that first episode. I think everything's gonna get cleaned up nicely at the end. So we'll figure out what Cassian's doing. I think Luthen will be a character that will carry us into season 2. I don't think they'll get rid of Luthen because he's really fun. He's a cool character. I like him a lot. Also, the actor is phenomenal. We'll keep Luthen. We'll get Mon Mothma. You know what? Me saying that now, knowing that his assistant is also like his dirty laundry person side assassin. I don't know. Maybe we'll lose Luthen at the end. I like honestly, there's been these little minute twists and turns with the storytelling. I don't really know. I think Marv will probably end up dying.
I think Karn is going to connect the dots when he's going through Imperial records, find out that this guy named Keith got arrested on this planet. I forget the name of the planet.
But I don't know why he would be in those records. That would, like, in my head,
he's gonna
an ISB
see his
agent
picture.
Oh, but why would?
Because he's so obsessed at this point, so he's looking for it.
Yeah, but there's like regulations and stuff. Why would a guy who's in the department of whatever compliance, if he's in the department of compliance, making sure that everything's, and he's working with fuel, how does he end up getting access to essentially ISB records?
We'll see. But I think he's going to be the one that connects the dots that they didn't arrest him.
I agree.
They arrested Cassian Andor.
I agree 100%. There's going to be closure for him. How we get that closure, I don't know, but most definitely him getting back into the Empire and working there, it makes sense. He will end up either facing Cassian or dying by his head, or something's going to happen between those two where they're going to have it out, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But we still don't have an overarching bad guy other than the Emperor. Like, I mean,
the Emperor, ISB would be the overarching bad guy.
They haven't done anything that makes me think they really are like, yes, they are an entity that seems bad, but they haven't done anything yet that makes me go, oh, that's a bad motherfucker right there. Like, we don't have a bad guy. And every other show that we've had so far, well, I guess Mando really didn't have a bad guy up until the end. I mean, it's just like it's an interesting way to tell a story where there really isn't like this antagonist that is like chasing the protagonist, right? Like, it's a story about this guy going through life, and you've got this like overarching evil that's there, just doing bad shit. Like, it's a very interesting way to tell a story. And I think, Kevin, this brings up a great point. And I saw this TikTok video yesterday, and Paul, our producer, put in our show notes this graph, and it's showcasing that people on social media are not really interested with Andor right now at all.
Not
like, really
talking about it. Yeah,
they're not talking about, like, there's not enough going on where they're just like, quote unquote not interested in it because there's not enough hype going on the internet about it.
I will say I had friends, because people come to me for Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And, they'll say, is Andor good? Is Andor this? Before Andor came out, I had one friend who said, I know the show that we least needed in the Star Wars universe was a show about Cassian Andor. And I was like, it would probably be interesting because it's going to be like spy stuff, which it is. In the Star Wars universe, but I think the general consensus is Cassian he's not Obi-Wan, he's not Luke, he's not Ahsoka. So the interest level, is probably like, I'll wait till it's done, I'll get to it over Christmas break.
Yeah.
There's no urgency.
Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, where it's phenomenal, but it didn't really play into the greater story aside from that character's arc, angle, however you want to look at it. So I do think that to an extent, Cassian's story isn't as alluring as, when Obi-Wan came out, it was very divisive because some people were not into it. Other people like us were super excited. And then we got, one of the most iconic scenes in Star Wars history now through the show. We're not going to get that in Andor. There's nothing like insanely. If anything, Cassian already had his iconic moment in Rogue One because Rogue One passes it directly off to A New Hope. So this is literally just the building blocks to Rogue One. So I don't think there's going to be pivotal, like life-altering information in this show as compared to an Obi-Wan or Mando at this point. Mando season 1 didn't really have anything pivotal, and then they decided to bring pivotal characters into Mando season 2 because of its success, and that's how we got Luke. That's how we got, the Mandalorian, the other Mandalorians, and now in season 3 they're going to double down on that. We're going to go to Mandalore and all that stuff. So I think Cassian just doesn't have the pull, and it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean people aren't watching it or won't watch it in the near future. You're coming up on mega vacation time over the next 2 months.
Yeah.
For people, so I have a feeling they'll get watched then. But it's like kind of like for me, it's kind of like you said, like Hawkeye or Miss Marvel, where it's not going to have this profound effect on the overarching story, but you do want to watch it because it does have play into the events that are happening in that universe.
Right. Yeah. It's the person that I saw on TikTok, she wrapped that really well. She said, Star Wars fans are a bunch of babies. And they don't know what they want, and they everyone cried and complained that Star Wars was for kids and that it wasn't dark enough, and we wanted more action because everyone's like, Rogue One's awesome, and then they literally get the show that they're asking for, and then no one really cares about it right now. And she's like, I think it's because there's we don't have the bestest boy to be latched onto, right? Like we don't have a Grogu character. We don't in Obi-Wan, we were attached to Ben Kenobi, we were attached to Vader. There were a bunch of names that were already there that we all knew and loved, and we already knew their stories, right? And this was just an addition to those stories that have already been told. And with Cassian, it is a character that nobody cares about, which is weird because they're getting the thing that they wanted, and it's still not good enough. But right. If they would have taken a Force user, they would have used a Jedi style character with a name that we knew, and then they threw them in the exact same setting where they were doing spy shit. Do you think people would care more? Or if Cassian would have had a cute sidekick, do you think people would have cared more? Because I don't think people gave a shit about Mando until Grogu showed up. I think everyone was like, "Oh, this is gonna be shitty." Because I remember a lot of people shitting on Mandalorian for a couple episodes. Like, "Oh, this is boring. There's just not enough there." Really like this, Baby Yoda though. So I'm not sure. It's really interesting because I really appreciate the show, and I remember saying when this was first pitched, how are they going to make Cassian interesting? And I don't think it's this show. Yes, it's called Andor, but I wish they would have called it something else at this point. I wish it would have just been called like The Rebellion or something, because I feel like people would have been more attached. I feel like they're expecting so much more from Cassian Andor to do stuff when in fact it's a showcase of different people from different walks of life coming together to overthrow a tyrannical government. Like, and they're all doing it in really cool ways, whether it's a spy way, or they're out there causing chaos via, robbing a bank or whatever. You've got these people who are whispering to other people to tell secrets. Like, it's really cool and almost like Game of Thronesy in a certain aspect. Like, there's a lot of lies and deceit. There's sex. There's all this stuff. It's literally like a Game of Thrones like style show to a certain degree, because it's very adult-ish, right? I mean, like, we saw someone get executed in the first episode.
Saw someone get hung in this episode.
Yeah, someone's hanging, and we saw like Cassian charging after freaking clone troopers with this club, and like all these things that are like very dark and has very adult-ish tones. It's so weird to me that like just it's not being received as well as these other shows. Because I find this show so interesting because it's highlighting so many things that we've all been like, I wonder what this was like.
You hit the nail on the head at the beginning. The Star Wars fans think they know what they want, but then when you give them what they want, they either don't support it or they don't care about it or they don't like it. I think the problem with most fandoms, not just Star Wars, is that when an adaptation is made in the way that you didn't envision it or the way that you would have not done it, it's automatically bad. You're not willing to give it the time of day. And you know what? Things like Rings of Power, I understand all of the criticisms, but it doesn't make me not watch it.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of the coin, if it wasn't Middle Earth, I would have checked out after like episode 3. Star Wars, same thing. If you're going to introduce me to something that involves space magic, you really need to come with a compelling story. Star Wars, unfortunately for me, doesn't have to do that. We talked about an Old Fashioned yesterday, Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace for me are proof that if you put it in the universe, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
Now, if you keep putting out shit, eventually I'm going to lose interest again. But they really don't consistently put out shit. It's just kind of a mixed bag when it comes to Star Wars. And the last few years have actually been terrific. So when it comes to Andor, again, I think we fall symptom to the fact that people just don't know what they want. And because the show isn't exactly what I wanted Andor to be, therefore I am either not going to watch it or I'm going to bitch about it online. Now, if people bitched about it, it would still show up in this graph. So I don't think people are bitching about Andor. I honestly really feel like you said with Hawkeye is the best example, where it's like, oh, I'll get to it when I'm off for Thanksgiving. I'll get to it when I'm on Christmas break. Yeah. I just don't think there's an urgency to watch. It's not like Obi-Wan where it's like, oh my God, something could get spoiled and,
Yeah, I haven't seen that. And that's the weirdest thing. It's been like that with Marvel as of late too, where it's like, I haven't been afraid of spoilers because no one's really been talking about stuff like She-Hulk. Like She-Hulk, for example, like it's a great show, but not a lot of people are talking about it other than just like shitting on it every once in a while. But like for the most part, She-Hulk is a really fun show, but it's one of those ancillary things where it's just like, if you don't care about the IP or the universe, the storytelling, and you're in it just for the sake of it being a Marvel show or movie, then like you're missing out on the point. And I think that's like the frustrating thing for me too, is like, you can't have an Obi-Wan every time. Like, because that's just like, that's setting the bar so high and you have to hit the mark so many times, you're going to fail short. Like there's no way.
Everyone said they loved Rogue One because it didn't involve Force users and it was just really well made. And it's like, okay, here's the precursor to it, and we're giving you 24 episodes. And they're like,
but I mean, I think like, also to your point, people might just see this as one of those things that where it's just a backfiller and they're like, I'll watch it whenever, it's just like, so like there isn't like this precedence to like get out there and watch it. Whereas like with Mando, like I remember first season, I wouldn't turn on my phone. Like I would literally, I would keep my phone, or I wouldn't even bring my phone with me, or I would stay off Twitter, or just like, I remember like making sure that no matter what, when I went to bed Tuesday night or whenever Mando season 1 came out, that when I woke up in the morning, I would not see my phone because someone for sure was tweeting me, what did you think of this?
Mando had the privilege though of being the first live action show in this era of storytelling.
Do you think that's why we're not getting as much hype on social media, just because it's been going on for so long now?
I think Cassian isn't this overly familiar character. I mean, if you saw Rogue One, you know who he is. But
yeah, but like even like with Mando season 2, I don't remember like Twitter being as like intense until the very end.
Twitter was on it every episode for
maybe
by the
I
time
just
season
am
2
following the
rolled
right
around.
people where I'm just not getting that stuff.
Yeah, so Twitter and Reddit and all those places were on it for season 2 of Mando. But again, Mando was the first to come to the table.
So you think it's a nostalgia thing?
I don't think it's
Because it's the
nostalgia
first?
as much as it's just like it was the first show. You know, I'll give you this. I don't have an urgency to like sit Danielle down and watch Andor every Friday.
No, I don't want to watch Andor with Amy because a lot of it's going to be like, what is that? What is this? You know, because
But
again,
Mando,
because you don't have to explain that part. And like, that's the thing. And like, that's what's so frustrating is like, yes, this, like, even though this episode is so well done, it really is for the diehard fans.
yeah.
At the end of the day, like, and that's what's like cool and kind of frustrating at the same time, because like this, like, it's frustrating for me because people are, like, when people talk about it, it has like a negative tone to it for the most part. Whenever like when I'm like in chat or even like on Twitter, just like people are very like, But for me, like getting to see ISB headquarters for the first time, that was cool. Getting Admiral Yularen for the first time when he's still ISB and he's not Imperial Navy yet, that's cool. That's really neat. To see the inner workings of just like all, like even just like the building of the rebellion for me is really cool. But again, you and I and some of the people that are listening to this or watching this, we are definitely like the 1% of Star Wars fans. Like, it sounds weird to say that, but like we are the diehard fans. We like, and there are people who are even more diehard than you and I who know way more stuff than us. And it's just like, this show is made for us.
I think it also suffers from, and you know, I'm not comparing these shows because I refuse to compare them, but I think it suffers from the fact that House of the Dragon and Rings of Power are out too.
Like really, like if we drew a Venn diagram, the people who are watching Game of Thrones and are watching House of Power, or Rings of Power, House of the Dragons, Ring of Power, and then do you think Andor is real, or do you think those shows are taking away from Andor?
I know House of the Dragon is taken away from both of them because the resurgence of Game of Thrones.
But why? They're in different days. They're completely different genres. Like, why would that?
First of all, I think Disney does themselves a disservice by releasing new episodes on Wednesdays and Thursdays. That's one of the biggest things because it has nothing to do with us. I'm not comparing it to us. I know we wake up early to watch it, but we have our reasons. The purpose and the problem with releasing it is it's a school night. It's a work night. People aren't going to sit down tonight and watch Andor. They're going to wait till the weekend if they're going to watch it. Rings of Power is done. Mm-hmm. The last episode last week, but they were hitting on Fridays and their numbers were still really good, even though the internet was like pretty divided on whether the show's good or not. House of the Dragons on Sunday nights, and that's the cadence. Everyone knows that Game of Thrones is at 9 on Sunday when there's a show. Yeah. Eastern. And I think House of the Dragon doing so well has actually hurt the two other shows because whether I choose to compare it or not means nothing. Everyone is comparing Game of Thrones and Rings of Power. And I think Andor's like the little kid in the corner getting not even like invited to the conversation type of thing.
And again, I go back to Hawkeye because the same thing happened with Hawkeye. I think we had Westworld and something else was out at the same time. And I remember being like, I'll watch it later because I didn't have time. And you're right. I really didn't think about that because like for me lately, like Amy and I try to have like an hour, like 30 minutes to an hour of like once the baby goes into bed, like we like hang out. And so like lately, you know, through the week, it's either like a She-Hulk or we'll end up watching just like half of a show. So like, you're right. Like anyway, with the 56 minute Andor episode that dropped today, like people aren't going to watch that until the weekend.
And we don't watch Monday through Thursday together. We'll watch shows separately, but like you said, same thing. By the time the kids go down, the last thing I want to do is like stay focused on a new show Monday through Thursday.
Oh yeah,
I kind of want to
usually like comedies or something like that, or I'm just kind of like
same thing.
Yeah,
I'll play video games. Like I'm playing Guardians of the Galaxy and Shadow of War right now, and you know I'll sit on the couch and I'll play my game, and she'll sit on her iPad and watch one of her shows, and that's what we do just to decompress
time. Yeah,
for an hour. You know, we don't really want to be invested in a new show. So Friday nights was Rings of Power, Sunday nights is Game of Thrones, and Saturday is movie night with the kids. So, you know, judging by that and saying, let's say I'm a casual Star Wars fan. I don't host a podcast, and Wednesday comes around. I'm not watching it Wednesday night.
Sure.
And then Friday night's taken by Rings of Power, so I'm not watching it Friday night. Now it's not, obviously. Well, and then Saturday I watch movies with the kids, and this show's a little bit mature for my son, so we're not going to watch this Star Wars show together. So that's out. And then Sunday night's Game of Thrones, so that's out. Guess what? I'm waiting until Thanksgiving break to watch Andor.
Yeah, damn. That's an interesting breakdown, Kevin. That's like because you're right. I haven't really looked at it from that lens.
I think the Venn diagram is a lot bigger than you'd think of people that are, because when you're a nerd, you're a nerd.
Yeah,
when you're a nerd, you're a nerd. We obviously like, I'm not into anime. You and Paul like anime, but we share so many
subgenres.
We share so many other interests. I'm into DC animated shows. I don't think you guys watch as much DC animated shows as I watch. So it's just this huge circle of nerddom that kind of circles the drain in the middle of like, I'm the super fan. Great example on these shows, Rings of Power. When they revealed Numenor, my jaw was open. I was like, oh my God, I'm seeing it. I'm finally seeing it. And my wife's like, what's that? She didn't give a shit. She didn't know. She doesn't have the backstory that I have. So I think, again, they cater too hard to superfans. Game of Thrones with the Pete and Wayne and Rob and Mike and all those guys. We're sharing lore videos. We're talking about which houses are going to be aligned for the Civil War and stuff. Like, we're deep into the mix there. But I don't have to explain anything in House of the Dragon to my wife, because they're doing a really good job of just saying, this is the shit that's going down.
Yeah.
In Witcher season 1, I had to explain everything to Danielle, and I was barely tagging along because of the time jump thing that they didn't tell us about till the end.
Yeah.
But Witcher season 2, she loved it.
Yeah.
Because it just told a better story. So I think Andor season 2 will probably do better than 1, because people will, just like you said with Hawkeye, will go and watch it, and then the interest will be there. It won't be competing with other shows, hopefully. And we will see more of a return on it, but I don't think it just has the pizzazz and the showmanship out of the gate to compete with Mando and Obi-Wan and all of these other Star Wars shows. You also have She-Hulk on. Keep that in mind. We didn't even really mention that She-Hulk comes out on Thursdays.
Wednesday night. Or it comes out on Wednesdays, right?
So you just lost half. You just lost half of the people that would potentially watch Andor during the week, because they're going to save that time to watch She-Hulk too.
Yeah. We're watching. It's 30. They're 30 minutes a piece, and they're really easy to watch. And so and that's another problem too. Is like that was what Bad Batch was.
Yeah.
Honest to God, Kevin, I think more people were interested in Bad Batch than they are in Andor.
I don't think so.
I've had more conversations with people in chat about Bad Batch than I have in Andor. We've barely talked about Andor in stream because I don't have people rushing to me about it.
Because again, I don't think it holds that weight. Now, when people watch it, they're going to start coming back to you and be like, "Oh, I watched Andor over Thanksgiving break."
It'll be a trickle effect for sure. I'll have more people talking about it the later we go on. But I still think that more people were just and it might be the time, it might be the day, whatever it is. It just, I feel like more people were interested in Bad Batch because I think people were more connected, because all of the fans from Clone Wars and for Rebels were already vested in it. They knew they were going to get a good product from the get-go, which is frustrating because Andor is a great product. It's a great product. It's just not hooking the people. And I wonder what they're going to do with season 2 to hook more people in. They're going to have to find a way to hook people into Andor to go back and binge watch the entire first season so that they're ready for season 2. And I don't know what they're going to do to make it interesting.
Again, I think they're just going to let season 1 play out, let people catch up with it. And then I think the interest will be there after folks catch up with it.
You think they're going to Game of Thrones it? Because Game of Thrones, let's take season 1 out of the equation, right? Let's say we started with season 2 of Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Seasons 2 and 3 were all world building. It was nothing but character and world building. And then we get to season 4, and then it's just off to the races. And 4, 5, and 6 were great. But so you think for the most part, season 1 is just a way for the diehards to get the understanding of the world build, and then they're good. And then that'll be enough. And then season 2 comes around and it's just like teasers are just jaw dropping and it just mouth watering, and it's going to make people want to go back and watch season 1.
I think they'll do something before the end of this season that.
Oh, you think the hook will be at the end of this season?
Yeah, I think they'll make people like maybe the uncle something, somebody, a character something, some event, I don't know, that we know of that will be like, like that.
Yeah.
And then that'll go viral on the internet, and then people will be like, oh shit, I gotta watch that show type of thing. And Thanksgiving break is the next week.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. It is the week after Andor ends. And I do think that was purposeful because look at how they changed it and then added the other episode to the release, meaning the finale would have been, because originally it was supposed to be 2 episodes up front, the finale would have been Thanksgiving week.
Interesting.
So I think they changed it so you could binge, and that might have something to do with what happens before the end of the season.
All right.
So we shall see. Before we get out of here, we got one other bit of news. Sabine's actress, Natasha Liu Bordizzo. Now, we had a conversation before this with Paul about how to pronounce that. And Paul has a tendency to pronounce people's names wrong, so I don't trust his pronunciation. So I'm going with this one. Natasha Liu Bordizzo. She's wrapped principal shooting for the Ahsoka show. That's a great sign. That means, we should hear other actors and actresses wrapping their shoots as well. I'm hoping by the end of the year they're done with principal shooting, which means we should get this show sometime like this time next year. Hopefully, if editing and whatnot goes well. But it's just encouraging to see that show moving along. And I know Acolyte is shooting right now as well.
Oh.
So similar situation. Hopefully they wrap before the end of the year, but I have no idea what the situation is there. So, lots of stuff being shot, and I'm hoping we don't have to wait till 2024 to see it all, because I'd like to see some of it in 2023.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like all the shit. They're filming Rings of Power season 2 right now, and I'm like, we're not going to see that shit till 2024. But according to
they didn't
everyone,
Peter Jackson this thing, and they did just continue recording?
No.
Interesting.
No, they didn't do that. Also, Tim, interestingly enough, because again, this goes back to what I said with Andor. So Andor wraps the week before Thanksgiving. You have Thanksgiving week. Willow doesn't start till the following week. So I think they want people to binge Andor over Thanksgiving break and then binge Willow over their Christmas break. Because there's no other Marvel show coming, right?
I don't think so. No, it's done after and She-Hulk I think is done.
She-Hulk is done. This was the last episode last week.
I think there's one. I think Amy and I need to watch one more episode.
Okay. Yeah, I think the finale was last week. So it just seems weird that they would align all of that.
No, yeah, because the episode that we watched, okay. So I'm trying to remember how they ended it. Yeah, so the last episode we watched, it was a cliffhanger for the finale. So have you watched any of it yet?
No,
so
I'm
good,
watching.
Kevin.
I'm watching Halloween stuff. I'm watching we're watching what's Midnight Mass on Netflix with Rahul Kohli.
Oh, you're going real Halloween. I thought I was thinking Hocus Pocus.
No, there's a level of scary that I like and enjoy. It's when you get too gory or too graphic. I also don't like spiritual stuff. That rubs me the wrong way. So I'm more.
So Paranormal Activity is not your thing.
No, I mean, I can do it to an extent. I've seen Exorcist. I've seen Amityville Horror. I mean, I used to live by Amityville Horror House. So it's just not my thing.
It's the weirdest thing when we were driving to the airport and there was signs for Amityville. when we were up there, I was like, I want to go there. I like that stuff. That stuff is fun for me.
Yeah, it's. I'm just not a fan. But I mean, this show seems to be bordering on that line.
Yeah.
But it seems to be more. I don't know. Alien, Jaws, those are Predator. That's my. And Shane said that all classifies as horror, so I trust what Shane says on that. So that's more my speed.
Horror?
Suspense.
Because horror in my suspense. Because horror in my mind is Saw.
Yeah, I don't like Saw.
Saw 1. The first Saw was phenomenal.
I don't like Saw.
Everything after Saw 1 was shit. Saw 2 was okay. Saw 2 was fun because they got creative. Saw 3, they're we don't know what to do anymore.
I've seen House of a Thousand Corpses. Doesn't do anything for me.
You don't like clowns. I was like, what about it? And then I was like, he doesn't do
Oh,
clowns.
I hate it. Scarred me for life. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is hilarious. I like that movie.
Interesting. All right. Well, I feel like we should watch a Halloween movie or something together. I want to know like where's like Kevin's.
Give Midnight Mass a try. It's been fun.
All right, I'll give that a shot.
I'm on episode 4, I think. Yeah, it seems like it's some sort of borderline supernatural, but not really, but nothing like too crazy.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Sick.
All right. You all have a wonderful week. We will see you next week for episode 104. I will hopefully see some of you tonight for Star Wars and Scotch game night. We'll be live across the board on my channels for the most part. Tim will come hang out, and we'll play Tim's favorite game, Star Wars: The Old Republic. He loves that game so much.
Next week, we're gonna play
Gotham Knights for Rare Drop game night. Yep. Me and Tim are gonna be a dynamic duo.
We're gonna be the Boy Wonders, and we're gonna talk about Star Wars.
Shoddy Nightwing.
Okay. Did you know that you can get the original Robin costume?
Yeah.
Like OG Robin costume? I want it.
So Paul yesterday and Shane, I was like, all right, talk me out of buying the collector's edition that comes with the statue. Because there's no way to pre-order it. You have to go to Best Buy on Friday, and I'm going to be at Synapse Orlando on Friday. So I'm like,
you have to go there?
They're like, well, one of us could go and buy it for you. I'm like, oh. And then Paul's like, it's technically a business expense too, Kevin, because you're playing it with Tim next Wednesday. I'm like, ah.
If you get 2 of them, would that? You could invoice me.
You want to? If they have to, we could try and get 2.
Try to get 2.
You want?
Paul says
statues.
Yeah, he gets 1, and then Shane gets 1, and then you just invoice. Oh, we got this. We got this.
Statue's
we
really
gotta go.
cool.
I gotta stream, Kevin. So,
Red Hood.
guys, thanks so much for listening to Star Wars and Scotch. You guys are amazing. You can follow me if you don't already. It's weird if you've been listening this long and you haven't followed me. Maybe you're just only here for Kevin. But head on over to facebook.com/darkness429, fb.gg/darkness429, darkness429 everywhere, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Bebo, wherever. I think I've got it all. You can follow Kevin. He does everything. Rare Drop over at raredrop.co. You can follow him Kevin X Vision on Twitter, KMagic101 on Instagram, and he's Rare Drop on Twitter or on TikTok. So if you see Rare Drop on TikTok, it's usually Kevin.
Yeah, it is. It's always me.
You can check out all of our other awesome podcasts over at raredrop.co. That'll do it for us, Kevin.
May the Force ever serve you.
Oh, I like that.
It's the Sith version.
Squirrel.